What's up guys, XM360 here, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys one of the oldest Wicked Lasers products out there. This is the Wicked Lasers Executive Series laser. This is advertised by the company as the laser that started it all, and although this video title may or may not have the word review in it, this is only kind of like partially a review. It's more of like a showcasing, because this product was made nearly or over 10 years ago, somewhere in the ballpark of 10 years ago. So it's a used product. I obviously was not able to get my hands on a new one. I scoured eBay for a bit and I ended up finding this one for $35 on there. And I do like to collect some of the older Wicked Lasers models, and when I do sometimes get my hands on them, like the Core Laser and the Spider 2, I like to make videos on them, so I figured I'd show you guys this one. And with this one, it's been pretty tough because of how old it was to dig up some of the information on it. I wasn't able to find out a whole lot, so if anybody's able to fill in some blanks, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. But what I was able to find out was that it came out somewhere around 2007 or 2008, and it was originally sold in 6 different price points for the Executive Series. The Classic 15 milliwatt, Advanced 35 milliwatt, Extreme 55 milliwatt, Phoenix 75 milliwatt, Nexus 95 milliwatt, and Fusion 125 milliwatt, with all of their own respective price points. And it was originally just sold in the 532 nanometer DPSS green color. And then at some point they also came out with the Executive Series Pro, which had a little safety lock at the bottom and an LED indicator light. And then also they sold some of them that had the word Fusion right on the laser. I don't know if this was during the same time that they sold these 6 different price points or sometime after, but that was also some bit of information I dug up. So the one I have here, I believe, is the Extreme version, because the label says 60 milliwatts, and although none of them were listed as 60, the Extreme was listed as 55 milliwatts, so my guess would be that what I have here is the Extreme. And if that is true, then this laser did originally go for $200 at its release around 2007, 2008, when these green lasers and the technology behind them in portable pointers was still very young in its lifespan. Nowadays, it's very, very easy and cheap to make 532 nanometer greens, so they're sold for literally $5. So the laser itself has a nice kind of rubberized matte finish to it. And the Wicked Lasers website advertises that it's built with brass, and it's overall got a nice solid feel to it. It doesn't have a removable lens on the top. Like I said, it doesn't have an LED indicator light or a safety pin. It's just a simple standard laser with a button that you hold down to operate. It's not a click on, click off. You do need to hold down the button. And this one takes 2 AAA batteries, and you just unscrew the end cap at the very bottom to insert those. And they go in with the negative end facing the tip of the laser and the positive end facing the tail of the laser, where the unscrewable end cap is. So just to show you guys the laser right here, this one still works really good after all this time. There's no damage to the lens, there's no light spread, there's no sprinkling of light from scratches or dust or anything. This one still has a near perfect dot, and the beam is extremely tight on this one. I'm going to show you guys some beam shots and some shots of the dot in different lighting levels, and starting with a normal indoor room setting here. The beam and dot are both very visible, and the beam itself is visible looking down the axis of the laser and a little bit looking at the side of the laser too. You can see it from the side. And you must wear laser safety glasses when using any laser like this. It's a must. You don't want to risk permanent eye damage, so I'll link some down below in the video description. This is a bit of a dimmer indoor setting, and once again the beam is very visible looking at it from the side and down the axis of the laser. Moving on to an outdoor daytime setting, you can't really see the beam here, but you can see that dot very well. And if you kind of focus on where it is on the screen here, you can see it up to several hundred feet away. And even at this distance, the divergence is pretty good, and that dot is still pretty tight even from this far away. So moving on to lastly a nighttime setting, again very good beam visibility from the side looking down the axis of the laser, and that dot looks extra bright when you point it at the snow. It really illuminates the white snow pretty nicely. And this is obviously where you got to be the most careful, because everybody else can see this laser too. Don't point it at any living thing, any vehicle, any plane or on anybody else's property. A lot of this stuff is common sense, but you'd be surprised people still get arrested for doing stupid stuff like that. So I'm going to move on to the LPM test now with my Laserby A LPM. And this video is going to show you probably the most LPM tests you've ever seen me perform in one single video, and that's because this was probably the most variable laser I've tested. You can see just going from my cold start here, 75 milliwatts on the first test. Second test we dropped down to around 60 milliwatts. Third test we only put out about 40 milliwatts, and these tests are all being taken consecutively about 60 seconds apart from each other. And then the next test I'm putting out 60 milliwatts again, and then around 35 milliwatts. Now, one thing that was kind of interesting here was some of these tests, the majority of these tests, I would see climbing for maybe 10 seconds, then a plateau for a second or two, and then decline. But with some of these tests, I'd see the climb, a plateau for maybe 4 or 5 seconds, and then another climb, a very rapid climb up to around 90 or 95 milliwatts. And this was the peak I was able to get out of this one, was, I believe it was 95 milliwatts was the best reading I got. But yeah, I saw that a couple of times where it would plateau and then I'd get a second burst of very rapid climb up to 95 milliwatts. And typically with these DPSS lasers, you have kind of like a warm-up time where it might be a little bit unusual, but then it kind of gets to a steady, stable operating level. But this one was just all over the board. All these tests were taken throughout the course of maybe 45 minutes or so, maybe half an hour. And during that time, I didn't stable out at all. These tests were all over the board between 35 milliwatts and 95 milliwatts. So with that being said, this one was rated at 60 milliwatts on the tag, and I don't necessarily feel comfortable saying an average for this one, just because of how variable it was with its outputs. I kind of just put this one in the ballpark of 35 to 95 milliwatts. I mean, if you really wanted to list an average, I guess you could say 60, because that's kind of smack dab in the middle of 35 and 95, but yeah, it was definitely a variable laser when it came to the output. Now, that wasn't really noticeable looking at the beam and the dot. You couldn't really notice the dimming, but it was definitely noticeable in the power readings. And what I'm going to show you guys right here is some nice foggy bathroom footage. I know you guys love when I hook up the fog machine in the bathroom and get these nice beam shots. And I'm going to use this time to talk about the laser and how I liked it. And I thought this one was really cool as far as the deal and the fact that I was able to snag it in this good of condition with the case and everything. I think it was a solid, well-built laser, especially for when it came out, being one of the earliest kind of portable handheld hobbyist green lasers. And one thing that you may notice is that the beam is just slightly crooked. It's so barely noticeable though that most people probably wouldn't even spot it, but I always have an eye for that type of thing, so I picked up on that right away, but not a huge issue. What I was really blown away about was how perfect this beam was. The beam divergence was so tight, and the dot was so perfect for this DPSS laser. It was really, really nice, and it was very, very shocking that it was that perfect and tight, especially for the age of the laser. So that was really cool. As far as burning goes, this one doesn't really have any serious burning capability because it doesn't have an adjustable focus, and the power output combined with how focused in the laser doesn't really give you any burning capability. I mean, you are able to make like these little tiny grooves on black plastic like you see right here, kind of like little tiny etch marks, but beyond that you can't really do too much with this one. So anyways, that's going to kind of wrap up my little showcase on the Wicked Lasers Executive Series laser pointer. I'd love to hear from any of you that might have previously owned this laser, or if you're able to kind of fill in any of the blanks as far as information goes. A lot of the information that I used in this video came from laserpointerforums.com, and I actually used the web archives called the Wayback Machine to visit Wicked Laser's old websites and kind of view their web pages, their old product listings for this laser back in 2008 and 2007. So if you guys found this video interesting in any way, hit that like button down below, and if you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button for lots of awesome laser videos just like this. And as always guys, thank you for watching from XM360.